This is Bam Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Reese Warren. You're a talented
Hello.
teen pop singer. How you doing?
I'm doing super good, doing super good. I'm excited to be here.
We do have your Instagram there, and we also, I think, have your website right
Oh,
here,
awesome.
reesewarren.com.
That's
Now,
amazing.
both of those will be clickable when we go live. Well, not when we're live right now, but
Mhm.
on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and any other podcast platform we're on. That is clickable in the description of the podcast. So people will be able to check out your music. I was
Awesome.
actually listening to your Spotify earlier today, and I think it's really cool to talk to musicians. Like I said, we started the podcast in 2016, talking to independent, emerging artists. That's was our focus, and we always like to, introduce our audience to new artists because we think it's interesting for people to hear what's going on in the music world. So, a
Mhm.
couple of questions you ask anybody that's ever on the show is like, what motivates you, and why do you do what you do?
Well, I mean, what motivates me is just the joy for music. I mean, I love okay, so I do what I do. I got into doing music and acting and all this stuff when I was around 3 when I saw Toddlers in Tiaras. I was watching Toddlers in Tiaras with my mom and I was like, "Hey, I want to do that." And so we started pageants when I was like 3 and then that led into doing dance and cheer and gymnastics and then I dropped gymnastics and cheer and I dropped pageants eventually too, and it led into acting. When I was around 8, I started professionally acting, and I had already been doing musical theater and singing for most my entire life, but professionally and more focused on getting into pop and releasing music, I started singing professionally and going into lessons for that when I was around 10. Um, and yeah, what motivates me is just the joy of doing it. I love music so much. I play guitar and I'm also learning piano. And I love writing music. I love making music. It's such a fun experience and it's so cool to be a part of and just have these projects that are mine and are beautiful. I mean, I love making music and that's what motivates me, just the joy of doing it. Well,
Yeah,
voice acting.
when I talked to a lot of creative people, like they would write music whether they were making hits or not, just because a
Yeah.
lot of times the process is so cathartic to kind of like yourself. He's like, I've been writing music since I was 17. I'm 56, and I never stopped. I never got the big hit, but I just like to play. Um,
Yeah.
and I think it like I was looking at your catalog, and you were writing your music, and that's really cool. To because there's sometimes pop stars that have their songs written for them, or they don't have as much involvement in the writing. You're not the singing is like the voice is an instrument, so I can
Mhm.
understand some people their talent isn't writing, their talent is their voice.
Mhm.
They focus on that. But I've always been very much into singer songwriters because I'm a
Mhm.
child of the 70s, and that was like the age of the singer songwriter.
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
and it just always captivates me because I feel like you're writing your own novel, you're writing your own story.
Absolutely.
You get to get
Putting a piece of
your
you, a piece of yourself into every work that you do, and it's really cool when people can see that the song that you made, they can just like feel that it comes from you and that it's real and it's authentic. It's
what yeah.
awesome.
It's vulnerable and there's authenticity. That's the whole idea of the singer songwriter is the vulnerability that it wasn't written in Tin Pan Alley by some of the great writers like Neil Diamond and all those guys. That's cool that he had these great Carole King, writing all these great songs. But something happened when like James Taylor and Joni Mitchell and the Bob Dylans and the Neil when they sang their own songs.
Mm-hmm.
There was something about that, even to this day, that I've always been keyed in, like Conor Oberst. I listened to like the guy like writing his own music.
Mm-hmm.
That type of mindset, the Juliana Hatfields, Liz Fair. I was always into like the independent songwriters, no matter who they are?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I was actually I've always told my mom this too, and I've told a lot of people this. Just that when you write your own music and you sing your own music, you can touch more people, and it's obvious because you really get into it, you relate to it. It's you, and when you write your own music and you put yourself into it and you really feel what you're singing, then the audience can feel that and connect to that. And it's a much more, I don't know, just authentic feeling, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, I think it gets to like you're telling your story rather than
Mhm.
you're, an actor like reading a screenplay, right? That's written by somebody else versus like an actor actually like Orson Welles like wrote Citizen Kane and he acted in Citizen Kane. So it's his thing. Like he wrote it. So there's something about it when you actually write it and play it and do it. I think it just feels like the whole package. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was listening to the song Flowers and I like the lines like, where you're talking about like, don't bring me flowers, like tell me the truth. I
Mhm.
like the idea that like, okay, you wanna get to the core. And it's like that
Mhm.
was a cool line.
Thank you.
So what made you feel like what made you wanna write and what made you feel like you could do it? Because some people I run into, they don't feel they can write the song because they're in the comparison trap. And they say, well, I can't be Joni Mitchell, I can't be Bob Dylan, I can't be Taylor Swift. So they won't even try. What made you want
Well,
to try?
the thing is that hi Luna. Here's my cat.
I have a
Keeps on
cat too.
coming up here. So curious. Anyways, the thing is that you're not going to become like those people if you don't work on it and you don't practice. And so really what I try to do is, even if it's not the best, and I know that it's obviously not comparable to all of these people because they've spent so much more time writing and have so much more experience. And so honestly, even if it does, I try to write at least a little bit every single day, because even if
Mhm.
it does suck, it's still more like experience. It's still
Yeah.
like it's just more writing for me to work my way up to get to that place. I mean, honestly, everything is really just comes from hard work. And so if I don't write, then I won't be able to get to the place of where I'm an established writer, you know?
Yeah, I think it's really important to put like if you talk to any athletes they put like they always talk about this 10,000 hours. And I've talked to a lot of musicians, it's like when you put the hours in over time, like
Mhm.
to learn your guitar, to learn how to use your voice, to learn the craft of songwriting. Over time, there's this like, exponential development because once you have that kind of muscle memory for your guitar or your muscle memory for your piano and the songwriting skill that you've written a ballad, you've written this, you've written that, you learned, the theory, the structure. You look at what was in the past, you look at what you want to do, and you start to develop your own style, and it happens over
Mhm.
time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like a
And you
lot of
start
work.
to see the
So
improvement, yeah. A lot of improvement, yeah. And you start to find the things that you like to write and you like to sing and what fits your voice and what fits you and your personality. You just gotta keep trying different kind of stuff.
so when you work on your music, like a lot of times like people want to know like, well, what's your writing style? Because some people like have a kind of stream of consciousness style, or they say, you know what, my songwriting style kind of serves whatever the song is. One day it comes to me while I'm in the shower, I'm walking in the woods, I'm in the car, I do a voice memo, I write it on a napkin. Is it that way for you? It's kind of wherever it comes, it just comes, and it's like it doesn't come the same way all the time.
Um, yes, yeah. Whenever I do have lyrics or ideas for a song, I definitely make sure to write it down. And that's not always, definitely not always when I sit down and I try to write. But I also like to, get a beat and sit down and just write over it for like an hour
Yeah,
or more, just see what I can come up with. And if I have like a brain or a block, then I take a break and I try again later.
so like a lot of times you say play guitar. Like I know a lot of people that like a writing instrument is the piano or the writing instrument is the guitar. So they'll sit in their room, they'll strum some chord progressions or charts, and then they'll just kind of come with it. Like I find like as a piano player, if I sit at my piano and I just start riffing and then have an open mic and I just hit my recorder, that I come up with a lot of ideas, and I might go for like an hour and then kind of go back and listen and then pull out, oh, there's the song, or
Mhm.
there's something I could use for a song. Is that something that you think about, like how you do it?
Absolutely. I actually just wrote a song to guitar, and I just before this podcast, I just recorded a demo for it so that I could, start taking that to the next level. But yeah, I absolutely love writing songs over instrumentals like guitars. I don't play piano that well yet, but I do know people that play piano very well. And I definitely know people that play piano and their main instrument is piano, and they write over what they find on piano, and it's really cool. I want to learn how to do that really badly, but it's also super fun to do it with guitar, and it's super fun to just get together with your friends too and see what you guys can come up
Yeah,
with.
just riff it. Yeah, collaborating with other people. Like like I come from the '70s. Like we just have a garage band and a basement band with my brothers
Mhm.
and some friends, and we just have some Tascam four trackers, and we just start riffing and put stuff together. And it's like a lot of it was like the drummer come up with something, the bass player comes up with something, then the singer's like, "Oh, that's cool." I'll just start kind of coming up with an idea. But today with like the DAW, sometimes you don't even need that band. You can just go into like Pro Tools or go into any of the DAWs
But
and start throwing riffs in and kind of doing it
it's
on your own.
always better. It's always better when you can have live instruments, though, because it's just again like that authenticity. It just sounds better if you have
Yeah,
a real instrument playing in the background. Yeah, I've always preferred to like hear real
acoustic.
instruments, just like
Yeah. I'm like I
visual.
said, I'm a child of the '70s. I'm more into like playing my Yamaha piano or my Moog and actually physically playing it and then
Mhm,
putting sun down. Or if it's playing any kind of like a Hammond organ or something. But it is something about the acoustic instruments or even electric instruments. They physically playing it, and I
mhm,
think it's kind of a lost art in some cases because there's so many things you can do with the DAW. There's so many things you can do where a lot of producers are just in the box. It's
mhm.
kind of like what it is, but you know, I like to use multi tracks, kind of old school.
Yeah.
But do you go to studios and actually work with like producers and recording engineers?
Absolutely. I have a music studio that I go to all the time. And I know a lot of really, really good producers, and I work with some really good producers as well. And I know a lot of really good, engineers and stuff like that. And I collaborate with some really cool and amazing people. They're really good at what they do, and it's super fun. It's a really amazing experience.
Well, it's nothing like the collaborative kind of experience. And it's like a whole nother level when you run into a producer and a recording engineer because they can like change your composition. I mean, you have an input because you're the artist, but like when you get a producer and an engineer, they
Hmm.
can make you think about like, hey, what if you change this? What if you and
Hmm.
it's to me is like the kind of rule as a producer is like do no harm, like make it better, but don't like
Hmm.
destroy it. And I was wondering your because like when you're young and when you just start out, like not everybody's like Prince. I'll tell you a story about Prince. Prince on his first record, he was told that he could have Barry White, not no, not Barry White, but he could have Maurice White from the Earth, Wind and Fire produce him when he was 17. And everybody thought he would go with Maurice White because he was like a Grammy Award winning producer. But Prince kind of said, no, I want to do it all myself. And that's kind of like
Mhm.
people thought that was kind of wow. How can this 17-year-old want to do it all themselves? But it
Mhm.
really kind of was because he knew what he wanted. So I'm wondering, like, when you write a song, do you really
Mhm.
know at the core, like, this is what I want it to sound like?
Um, Sometimes, yeah, but also sometimes I don't know exactly what I want it to sound like, and I ask for opinions. But sometimes I do know exactly how I want it to sound and what I want to do with it. But I'm open to opinions as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like some people could say, well, Prince was always in the Prince sound. He never kind of got outside of the Prince sound because he was kind of laser focused in it. He
Mhm.
was who he was. But I think it is important to like as an artist to have the ability to take constructive criticism or feedback.
Mhm.
And you
Absolutely.
don't grow
Yeah.
unless you understand what's
And if you're stuck in the same way, and don't branch out or you
you
know
want to.
open up a little bit, then I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I think
like
it's limited.
constructive criticism. I like to hear everybody, just to better myself.
So, like you kind of mix like country and pop in your style. Can maybe talk to that? Like, what's the source of your inspiration there?
Country and pop. Well, I mean, I guess the source of inspiration there, I don't have a specific style that I'm set on in my uh, singing yet. I try a bunch of different stuff. I'm trying currently a bunch of different stuff to see which one I like the best and which one my voice suits the best. But one genre that my voice I feel does suit pretty well is like a country pop, country like country rock kind of pop, like
Mhm.
You and I by Lady Gaga. That's a
Yeah,
cover that I love to sing, and I've gotten compliments on it. So I think I sing it pretty well. And so I guess I'm trying a bunch of different stuff, and I think country pop sounds, good on my voice. So yeah.
it's cool to be able to mix all kinds of elements because we kind of live in a world where you could take an EDM element, you could take a country element, you could take a rock
Hmm.
element or like a rock guitar, you could have a hip hop like feature and somebody throws a couple like hip hop kind of elements into something because it's kind of trendy and pop. There's so many things that kind of cross now. You got world beats,
Yeah.
hip hop beats,
Hmm.
traditional kind of pop song beats. There's this kind of we're living in an era where you could pull from anything. I mean, you could even bring like a 1920s, you know, like type of vibe and bring that into a song if the song if it felt like it worked for the song. So
Hmm.
you can kind of do anything.
Hmm. Absolutely. And that's what's so fun about making music.
Yeah, because I think it like in this
Mhm.
age, it's like there's so
Mhm.
much to kind of mine in terms of what's out there. Because I think we are our influences. I mean, you mentioned like Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, Ariana
Ariana
Grande.
Grande is my
Yeah,
main influence. Absolutely. I love her. She's like my number one inspiration for music. Also, yeah, that's just, it's so fun. That's what's fun about making music, because you just get to be creative and, try a bunch of different stuff and just be artistic and have like the freedom to just be creative and make whatever you hear.
now, what do you feel about like stage persona? Like Lady Gaga is famous for kind of creating this persona. It's kind of like the personas that Freddie Mercury and Prince and a lot of the big stars from that era. They had these kind of Bowie. They had these kind of it seemed like they mixed like theater and acting with music. How much of that do you bring to your music, or have you thought about like bringing like characterization to your stage show or stage presence?
Well, when you're performing, it's definitely important to, um spice it up to make it, interesting for the audience. And like personas, I feel are definitely important because it makes the artist, it makes you you, and it's like what you're known for. Um so yeah, I mean, I think personas are really cool. I love like Lady Gaga, and I love Prince and all these people, and Freddie Mercury. I love Freddie Mercury. They're all amazing. And yeah, I mean, I think that your persona is just, what you're known for.
Do you feel like I don't know how much have you done a lot of live performing?
I have done quite a bit of live performing. Yeah.
Do you feel like when you're on stage, you're kind of like a stage version of yourself versus like your day to day self? Do you kind of get into
I
like a
guess
like stage self?
Yeah, I guess I do. I guess I'm a lot more, energetic and just having, I guess, I don't know, because really on stage, all I'm doing is just having fun and singing the songs and performing to people. Um, but honestly, all I really do is just have fun and sing. So I don't know if there's any particular presence or acts that I put on when I'm on
Mhm.
stage. At least not yet. But currently, I just, I have fun.
Well, sometimes yeah, and I've been around musicians and I've been on stage myself. Is just you feel like you get in a zone, and if I go back and look at the film, I don't even realize like what I was. I kind of was in the moment, and
Mhm.
you might not even realize how you're presenting yourself because you're like in it. But
Uh-huh.
like, I don't know if you feel that. It seems like I've run into artists that run into this where like when they're performing, they kind of get into this
Absolutely.
performance state,
Mhm.
and it's like you might not even realize how you present.
Yeah, I feel like every performer does that. When every performer that really feels the music that they're singing or they're playing, they definitely we like you get into a zone and you just are focused on, you know, singing and feeling it. You're feeling it, and that's you're feeling the music that you're playing, and it's just touching you, and it's obvious that you're feeling it, and that makes the audience feel it, and you're just in the zone. You're just, focused on the music that you're singing and like nothing else. So I mean, yeah, I guess that you wouldn't be able to really pay attention to what you're presenting yourself as because you're focused on the music. And that's definitely happened to me before. And I see it in so many other people too. And it's so cool to see. It's so cool to see when people can really feel the music that they're playing or they're singing.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of validation of like why musicians do what we do.
Hmm.
But it's also interesting, like if you're like the interplay between you and the audience. Like I think it's like a two-way street, in my opinion. Like when you play in front of a live audience, the energy in the room, like the way the room is, what the energy coming from the band, the energy coming from the audience, the energy coming from you is like there's an interplay. And I feel like that kind of makes the whole performance is like that connection to the audience and to the room and to everybody in it.
You definitely need to be able to have a good connection with your audience and be able to, sorry, and be able to, make the show interesting, and just connect with your audience. It's definitely a really important factor of performing. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Um, but one of the things, like in terms of like your music and making a meaningful impact, does that go into like when you write a song, like the story you're trying to tell, the message you're trying to get into? How important is that as a songwriter when you're writing, or is it just like I need to put this feeling into words, or do you have Like just an
Well,
idea of what the direction you want to go with your music.
most of my a lot of a lot of my songs are just, like, I need to put this feeling into words. But I do like to make music that, touches people. I want to touch people, and I also want, to connect with people. And I want to make music that is empowering, and people can, enjoy and empower. um
Mhm. Like
and
uplifting lyrics, like the idea of having uplifting lyrics
uplifting lyrics.
is like a focus in your music.
Mhm.
So that makes you
I
because
love,
you
yeah, I love to uplift people, and really my focus is just to connect with people and um touch touch them. Yeah.
now you've acted on the XO YouTube web series.
Mhm.
How important is that into like the kind of cross connection for your between that audience that watches you doing that and the music audience? Is there like a synergy or interconnectedness between those two things when you're working like on acting projects and then your music, or do you kind of keep them separate?
I do really want to get onto a show where I'm able to act and I'm able to sing and I'm able to dance. That was really my goal when I was younger, was to get on a show where I can act, sing, and dance. But if I could get on a show where I can act and sing, that would be amazing. I mean, normally right now I just kind of keep them separate because, I act, I do auditions, I do this stuff, and then I also sing and I perform and I make music, and they're both really big passions of mine, but they're not exactly connected. Except I do think that, the people that watch me sing and perform also watch me act, so it's connected in that way. But I don't connect them to where I'm acting and singing, though that is something that I really want to do.
Yeah, if you could kind of have like back in the '70s they have the Partridge Family. You have a show about you have Hannah Montana.
Mhm.
It shows where you could like act and sing in the same show. So if you had an opportunity to have something like that, that would be a kind of like something you would look for.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, that's been one of my dreams since I was really, really little. Yeah.
Yeah, just I wonder where that kind of those opportunities are. If it doesn't seem to be something that they're pushing as much as like in different time periods. There was this idea, like like the monkeys, the Partridge Family. There was this kind of push in television to have that. I'm just wondering if that is not as big a opportunity anymore.
It's not that big anymore. It was really big, yeah, back then when Nickelodeon and Disney were really big for creating shows where you act and you sing. Um, it's not seen that much anymore, but still, if there was a show that I could be on where I was able to act and sing, that would be
Maybe you
amazing.
could bring it back. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
things kind of come in
absolutely.
cycles.
And I
So
think
people like
Mhm. I think I know a lot of people that would definitely enjoy another movie or another show where the actors are acting and singing at the same time.
have you thought about doing like Broadway type shows? Type like off Broadway type musical things that get into musicals?
Maybe in the future. I used to be really big into musical theater. It's not something that I'm as into anymore, but possibly in the future I would love to do musical theater if it's something that I, take interest in.
So in is evolving as an artist, it seems like things are kind of multimedia is really important
Mhm,
where people get their music into video games. People are on the net, they're on like web shows, they're on
mhm.
physical TV shows, streaming shows, movies, film. So you're kind of open to that kind of cross multiple areas in terms of like your career development.
Mhm. Honestly, I'm fine with, or yeah, I do social media, and multimedia is definitely very important in, growing to where you want to be nowadays. But I'm I completely forgot what I was gonna say. I'm so sorry. Um,
Wait, but are you more focused on like the trying to be the pop star at the moment with the multimedia opportunities to be like film star? 'Cause I guess it's like different disciplines. To want to be a film or TV star versus being a pop star. If it could be all of them, is your focus right now to be the pop kind of musician?
I do think that my focus right now is to be a pop star, but I'd also, if the acting starts to happen, first, then I'd love that also because I love to act. I would love to be on a movie or any show to where I'm able to act. And I do voiceover, and I've voiced over for video games before. I do the voiceover for Final Fantasy 7
Hmm,
and
cool.
Fallout 76, and I did the voiceover for MC Swag on LOL House of Surprises. And so if the acting hits first, then I'd love to be on a show. But yeah, my focus right now is definitely to push my music and try to become a pop star for sure.
That's really cool because I think it's cool that you're open to the other things and the fact that you've done those kind of sync licensing and the voiceovers because you know as an artist today there's a lot of different places for people to you know get to do your work like you sometimes like you can get more opportunities doing voiceovers, you can get more opportunities doing licensing, or you could be doing you know, video game scoring. I've been working on some stuff on that, and it's just,
Mm.
it kind of depends on where you're focused. Like if I want to be an EDM star for scoring a video game, might not be the thing, but maybe it would. You never know. Because these video games are get so big, sometimes it's like you might get a pretty good audience doing that.
I don't mind. I mean, I genuinely enjoy acting and voice acting and music. I enjoy it all. It's what I want to do. It makes me happy. So if I can start growing in any of them, that'd be great. But I love to do them.
What are like three things about you that your audience may not know about you?
Three things about me. Okay, so I've said this probably since I was very, very young, but Reese is actually my middle name. Um, Jacqueline Ann is my first name. I used to own a pig named Waddles. And what's a third thing? Hmm. I'm Hawaiian,
Oh, wow,
although
that's
that's
cool.
not very hidden.
Have you been? Are you in Hawaii now, or have you been there lately?
No, I visited Hawaii a year ago. That was the only time I've ever been. I definitely want to go back. It was beautiful. Um, but yeah, I the last time I visited Hawaii wasn't recently at all. It was like over a year ago. It was last April.
Are there some lessons learned, like when you first got into music and started like working professionally, or some of like maybe three top lessons learned that you found as like a new artist in the game? Was there anything that you would think you would like relate to other new artists?
Hmm. It takes a lot of work and dedication, and um, hmm. You need to find a good vocal coach that'll teach you well and teach you how to support and teach you how to sing really without straining your voice because some vocal coaches just don't tell you, and then you grow and you start to strain your voice, and then you grow stuff on your vocal cords, and um it's not your fault because you were just trained that way. Also, if you came from musical theater like I did, it was definitely a huge switch up, and I had to completely change the way that I sang to fit more of a pop and
Oh,
pop
that's interesting.
music.
So was there a different like I guess your coaches would teach you or the producers like the way you approach a song versus like a Broadway type of show versus like a pop song, and even like the way you sing the song, the way you sing the words, the approach you take, the breathing, all the aspects of it. Was that like a really big learning experience? Opened
Well,
your eyes?
the support is the same, but musical theater is a lot more dramatic and, a lot more acting out and just big and dramatic, a lot more dramatic. So I had to tone it down a lot when I was, you know, singing, learning how to sing professionally.
Yeah, I guess also like the live approach versus like the studio approach. This kind of goes back to like the Beatles, right? You think about the Beatles when they first started, they were just kind of like what they sounded like in Hamburg was like what they could physically play in a live show. And then once they got the Sergeant Peppers, they started to use the studio and do overdubs and do multiple vocal layers. So
Mhm.
once you have the studio and you start building a pop song, like how did you start to approach like, oh, I can have like this lead vocal, I can have these like shadow vocals, I can have all these tracks of vocalizations, I can keep on stacking my voice so it's a choir of your own voice. How did you start to like look at that like artistically and creatively?
Well, the first time that I ever went into the studio to record a song, I had amazing people to help me understand what everything meant and what everything did, and just to tell me what to do and to help me understand. And honestly, it wasn't hard. It was a super fun experience to be able to, create a song and be able to create harmonies over it and, doubles, and just when you're all done, listen to the finished product. It was a super fun experience.
Yeah, it just becomes like bigger than sometimes like what you can actually sing live. Like you might have built so many vocal tracks that you might need backup singers to actually represent the sound that you did all by yourself, or have the backing tracks kind of running and then you doing the lead track. So when you like sometimes in pop music, when you go to sing the song live, you have so many backing tracks that you kind of mute the lead track and then sing that lead track, but the backing tracks are like still there. So I'm just
Mhm.
wondering how you handle that when you do live work.
I do. When I do live, I take the backing tracks and I turn them down quite a bit, to where it's like a 30/70. So like my main vocal where I'm singing is, the part that's most heard, but I just have the backing vocals in the background just to add some
Hmm,
more depth
yeah,
into
yeah.
it.
It's just amazing what you can do today in
Yeah.
terms of like in the '70s, like we didn't have the ability to have our backing tracks come out unless we had them on a tape loop, and that was kind of dangerous because it might not work.
Yeah.
so we like our live version was never going to match what we actually did in the studio. Like it was always going to be less like sound in terms of vocals than what we actually did. But now today you can actually get pretty close to what you actually put down.
Hmm. And that's also, why backing singers existed.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Because the only way you could do, you had to have 3, 4 backing singers to do what was there because you didn't have the computer to do it.
Hmm.
But sometimes it's cool, either way. But when you sing live, do you like to kind of change up what you originally wrote and kind of sing it for that moment, or do you like to kind of be able to keep it close to what you wrote?
I normally stick to what I've written. I don't really change up any of the lyrics. If I do, that sounds really fun though. I might decide to do that in the future. Normally, instead of changing up any lyrics, I change up some melodies, or I add some runs to some parts that didn't have them before. And that's normally all the changes that I do when I sing live. I don't think I've ever changed up the lyrics unless I've forgotten them and I just, continue to keep on going.
Yeah, there was this thing in the '70s where Bob Dylan was famous for like when he would sing a song, sometimes he'd have multiple versions of the song.
Hmm.
And then when he went to do it live, he would actually use a different set of lyrics that were from a different take. So for like Tangled Up in Blue from Blood on the Tracks or Idiot Wind from that Blood on the Tracks album, he had different demos that had different sets of lyrics. And so when
Mm-hmm.
he went to play, if you went to go hear him, sometimes he'd pull from the not from the album track, but from the like one of the demos that wasn't released and have a whole set of lyrics that weren't what you heard on the radio.
So
And he was
cool.
like, and he was like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was kind of famous for doing that. And I always thought, I don't know if people do that as much anymore, but in the 70s, yeah, Neil Young used to do it too. But there were a lot of bands that would do that. And I think it's a cool thing. I bring it up just because I always want to let some of the newer bands like realize like yeah, you have opportunities to do things that you might not have thought of.
I think artists also like nowadays avoid that because, you know, or I don't know, but a lot of the people they memorize the lyrics and like they go to the concert and they sing along to,
Yeah,
the artist. And if the artist switches up like all the lyrics, then well, I
yeah,
don't know. That actually seems like a really cool experience because it's like a whole another song that you're getting. But
yeah,
I do know a couple artists that do that, but not a lot of people do that nowadays. No.
yeah. On the chorus, you probably don't want to do it. You probably do it on a section that's not the chorus. So
Hmm.
like the people are so tied to the chorus, I wouldn't do it there, maybe. But yeah, it's something that's not part of the chorus. You can entertain maybe doing it. But yeah, it's just a thought. I like to change things up on people.
Yeah.
But it's just cool to talk to artists because I love talking to artists to get the mindset of like every creator has a different way of framing what where they want to be. So if you're gonna tell people like what your sound is, and somebody was like you're in an elevator with like an A&R person, what would you tell them what your sound is?
What my sound is? Um, well, honestly, me myself, I don't exactly know what my sound is yet. But if I had like to say what my sound is, I would say that my sound is positive, something uplifting. I want to, you know, relate to people and connect to them and lift them up, uplift them. But not with all my songs, obviously, because some of them are going to be a little bit sadder. But main focus is to keep a very positive vibe to my music. Um, and my sound, I think my sound is very positive. That's what my sound is.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's uplifting. Kind of like I always think about Stevie Wonder
I
was
love
has
Stevie.
always been like this kind of very uplifting. You listen to songs in the key of life. It's a
Mhm,
very uplifting album. I mean, it's a
mhm,
crazy big album, and it
mhm,
kind of goes to another point. Like since I'm a child of the '70s, I kind of grew up with albums, and
mhm,
now we kind of live in the Spotify playlist single kind of era, which is kind of like the '50s. Like before the Beatles in the 1950s, everything was kind of singles based, and people didn't really look at albums that much.
mhm.
It seems like we've kind of gone full circle back to like a
Absolutely.
1950s kind of single focused era. What do you think about like singles, EPs, and albums? What's your opinion on those type of forms?
I mean, I do love singles. I think my favorite type of form would be an album. Absolutely, because if it's an artist that you really like, you're getting more music and it's an experience. You get to listen to the story of the album, you get to listen to all the music, and you know, an EP also is really cool. Um, Honestly, I don't care what form it is in. If it's good music, then it's good music.
Yeah. Well, I think what's cool about an album is like you have the single from an artist, but when you go deep into the album, like the non-single cuts to me are kind of like when you read a book, a novel. Like the single is kind of like that's like the cliff notes to the artist because it's like that's what you hear, what they're presenting, but the deeper cuts kind of show something that's something I think it's a little deeper. Like you get to see the full breadth of what an artist is capable of within an album or an EP.
Absolutely. I definitely prefer albums. out of all of the three options. Also, hi Elijah. I definitely prefer albums too because it's just a whole experience. Hi Elijah. Mm.
But it's yeah, it's I think it's just fun, in the age of the album. Part of my the thing issue with the well, not issue, but thing I loved about the album was like you get this vinyl and you'd have the whole package. You have like maybe lyrics, the cover, the art that went with the cover, so it kind of gave it a theme. It was
Mhm.
tactile, so you had it. You're like staring at the album cover, looking at the lyrics, putting the vinyl on the record player, and then you couldn't skip around. So
Mhm.
you kind of were forced into
Also,
listening, yeah,
yeah.
to the whole thing. And so you didn't get the idea, well, I'm going to skip around like a CD or like on an iPhone or whatever. Kids today, they don't even have to listen to it. They can just jump around. And I
Yeah.
think vinyl is so cool, and the kids are getting into it again because I think they want to have the experience of not just a
Story
virtual piece
story.
of art.
Whole
They want
experience.
to touch
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah, just to have the whole entire experience of what the artist created for you, the whole story of the album. Yeah, it's really cool. Thank you, Elijah.
But yeah, I think it's just cool today that we have so many options. If people want to stream, they can stream. A lot of artists that do provide USBs, even like tapes are coming back. People have CDs if they want to have CDs. People have vinyl if they want to.
Yeah, I,
Uh,
I own a record player. I have some vinyl.
have you thought of ever putting your work on a vinyl, like even a vinyl like single 45 or something?
Honestly, that sounds really cool. If I my goal next year is to release an album, so if I am able to put that album on vinyl, then that would be amazing. That'd be so cool.
Oh, it's a really cool thing for the fans. Like I would just like when I go to New York and I'd see a lot of indie bands, they would do these micro batches of vinyl, whether they're EPs or 45s or 78s. They would go and create them because there's this whole new era of people having turntables,
Hmm.
and there were these companies that produce small batches. So then you'd have your merch table, and the bands would play like like some bands would go to in a collective to a club and kind of own that club for 3 days. Instead, the same bands playing every night, and then they'd have merch tables, and then they go and meet the fans and sign their T-shirts and sign the records. It just has a way to connect the fans that builds that kind of fan club
Hmm.
kind of thing. Have you thought about like building a fan club, or do you have a fan club?
I I mean, I do have some fans. I have well, yes, I have fans that follow me, and I really appreciate 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 it. Oh my goodness, I cannot speak. I'm like having a stroke. I'm sorry. Okay, I have a lot of fans that I'm so grateful for. And I mean, having a fan club, that sounds really fun. I have a social media group on Instagram to where I'm able to speak with all of my fans and, chat with them. So if that counts as a fan club, then I mean, that's something that I have. Yeah.
Well, I think it's just there's just how you connect with fans today is so you have TikTok, you have Reels. How much work do you spend like trying to build like a TikTok or a Reel or social media? Do you work on like clipping your stuff out and like finding a way to engage audiences like that?
I definitely put a lot of work into social media. Recently, I've been kind of slacking off, but I definitely do put a lot of work into, posting on TikTok, trying to grow my TikTok and just posting every day on Instagram for, everybody to see, all my fans to see, and just share my life. But yeah, I do put a lot of work into growing all of these platforms, but I enjoy doing it. It's fun. I
Yeah,
like.
yeah, this is kind of like the age for this generation. That's the form, because we didn't have as much of that in our era. but the fact that you like, if you guys understand TikTok better than a guy like me, um, like so it's like I know my daughters always tell me like when I do my TikToks, it's like that's not how you do a TikTok, Dad. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm 56, so I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
you're in it, so you know what works. So it's like if she's my consultant going forward, like, cause I don't know how to do it right. I don't have the humor right. I don't have the mindset to know what's like hip. What I have is hip is like from just hip in '76.
You know what surprises me? My mom actually knows how to use TikTok pretty well. Some of the stuffs that she posts are questionable, but uh, she knows how to use it pretty well. My dad, on the other hand, he accidentally downloaded TikTok and made an account, and he didn't know how to delete it. And he's been asking my mom to delete it because he doesn't know how anything works. So,
Yeah, it's kind of like you got to get in the mindset, but it's just interesting to know all the different ways you can reach people today. And like
mhm.
when you do TikToks, do you like to do like the humorous ones or kind of picture of a day in the life of Reese
uh,
Warren, or like how do you like to approach it?
I normally just do whatever's trending. I like to do a lot of lip syncing audios to, songs or just sounds that I really like. That's what I like to do. I also like to do, yeah, I like to do funny TikToks, and I do day in my life. Sometimes I do get readies with me, and I do a day in my life. I do whatever I feel like doing.
Yeah, well, I think kind of like it's whatever's gonna be in the flow state, kind of whatever works. You
Hmm.
know, you kind of like it's kind of day to day, I guess, like what's going on, whatever trend, and you kind of go with what's gonna work at that moment, kind of moment in time. So, do you have other projects gonna happen this year or going into next year that you can tell the fans about?
Absolutely. I have three new songs written, and I have two of them are in production. They're getting ready to, you know, being getting ready to release. So make sure to stay tuned for new music, and new music. And I'm also making new music videos to some of the songs, and it's super exciting. I really like these songs, and I hope all my fans, I hope all you guys enjoy them as well, because I really like them, and I hope you guys like them too.
So on
Um,
the music videos, are you involved? Are you totally like in control of how that works? Are you guiding that?
I do have a social media manager, and oh yes, I have more acting projects coming up as well. But music is definitely like my main focus right now. But yeah, I do have more acting projects coming up. I have a social media manager, and I also have my mom and a manager as well that helps with ideas and helps figure out what to do with the music video. But obviously, if I don't like something, then I'll tell them and we won't do it. And I do have like a major role in deciding what we do, because obviously, it's
You're an
it's
artist.
my music video. So I have a choice in what I get to wear, what we're doing, where we're shooting it, how we're shooting it, if it's just me or if it's like me and a couple other people. I do have like the major say in what I'm doing for music videos, but I also, again, I love being open to ideas from other people and what they're thinking. Um, so yeah,
But
thank you.
yeah. So when you, I guess it's interesting like how you control. Yeah, it's good to be like in and aware of like how your image is being portrayed and have that kind of mindset or just awareness of what you want your vision your what you want your image to be like there are a lot of image makers, but it's cool to have a good hand on the rudder of your image as an artist to kind of be in control, right?
Mhm. Yes, it's very important to, as an artist, to be in control of everything that you're making and creating. Because, if you're making a song and you're just allowing everybody else to do everything, and if you don't like something, you don't say it, that's your baby, that's your voice, that's your name, that's your work. So it's definitely important to have a
Yeah, you
say,
want to own it.
a
You want
huge
to own it.
yeah, in what you're making and what you're creating, because at the end of the day, it is yours. So you want to make sure that it's something that you enjoy and you like, and it's you. Um, so yeah, it's definitely important to have a say in what you're doing with everything.
Well, I think it's real important to have that kind of. That's why a lot of people want to be independent artists because they want to control their vision. They want to control what they're working on, and I think it's just important. And also, like in this age where there's like, you know, AI, there's all this, the way some producers kind of control things. Like you want to have like your vision, and not have somebody else's vision kind of rubber stamp your
Yeah.
work. You
Hmm.
know, because then you want to have your own unique Reese Warren. This is Reese Warren.
Yeah, it needs to be you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I think that's awesome. I think we've we've had a really good interview today. Just wanted to talk to people about like all your music is available on all the major streaming services, right?
Absolutely. All my music is available on all major streaming services at Reese Warren. You can find me at Reese Warren on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. So yeah, every major streaming service.
And your Instagram is here.
My
Like,
Instagram is the Reese Warren.
oh, that's
There.
awesome. So yeah, that's right there. And it's all those links will be fully clickable. We're gonna put both of them, the Instagram and the Reese Warren, on the actual description of the podcast. So we've been live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and then later, by tomorrow, we'll be on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio,
Yay.
Amazon, and a bunch of other platforms. I won't rattle off all of them, but I want to thank you again. Thank Reese Warren for being on the podcast. We do want to encourage you to go check out her music on all the streaming services where it's available. Watch her videos where you see them on YouTube. And when you perform, go get a ticket and go find her when she's performing. So that's what we always ask everybody to, like, if you like the artist we're talking to, go support the artist. Support independent artists is very important for the music industry to have different visions and different voices. And I think it's really cool that you were able to talk to us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here. This was fun.
Thank you for being a guest on the Fam Electric Ghost podcast.
Of course.
So thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you. You too.